This is going to be an incredible match. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise. We're here in the Intel Extreme Masters Grand Finals.
We already see Classic coming out now with a probe scout, trying to get an idea of whether or not Rogue is going to do anything sneaky early on. Now,
Classic wants to take his next expansion very, very quickly. Now, this Slayer is so quick from Rogue. I'm very interested in this play. Classic popping up, seeing that the third base is on the way, but he could be caught off guard by just how quickly the layers started. Rogue might be doing a very aggressive play to try to counter what is likely to be a play from Classic, where he is trying to be greedy.
And we're seeing exactly what that is right now.
That's right, we just saw that he canceled the third base after Classic saw it. So Classic sees that, he thinks it's a normal game. Oh, there is nothing further than a normal game from what we're seeing here. Rogue will be going all in.
This is almost impossible to hold. We now have Rogue loading up the Nidus network, and we're gonna see where exactly he's gonna set this up. It might be right by the Robo Bay and the Nexus.
Yep, he is making it right there. He's gonna want to target down that robotics immediately. The Immortal, one of the main units at trying to stop this. You notice Classic making tons of buildings. He's gonna wall off everything, throw down shield batteries, but they aren't gonna finish until this Nidus is open.
The Nidus is now spilling out so many units. The Robo completely surrounded. If the Immortal does come out, it will surely be gunned down. Probes being pulled to try to assist in defending the base.
Well, the first Immortal does fall. The Robo gets unpowered. Another pylon finishes the probes. Out fighting, a Phoenix comes in, picks up a Queen. In comes the Oracle as well.
Transfuse is going down. The Oracle still with some remaining energy. We see more and more Roaches and Queens spilling out. If Classic is unable to hold this location, this game will end and it will be a victory here for Rogue.
Well, it's looking like it might be. Rogue dealing so much damage. 17 probes already falling, going after the army of Classic. He barely has anything left but frantically microing these Stalkers.
A few Stalkers in the back, but really nowhere to try to kite them. If he can get this pylon and possibly take it out, this will be an insta-win for Rogue.
Oh, he's trying right now to pick off absolutely everything. These pylons being picked off one by one. More units still coming through that Nidus for Rogue. Just so much damage being put on top of these Stalkers, but Classic is not giving up yet.
Classic trying to hang on right now. Lynx in the main, 28 probes already down. Classic still limping by. These Stalkers are all he has left to try to hang on, and Rogue is not slowing down with sending more units directly to this natural expansion.
It's looking almost hopeless here, and GG is called.
And this is a best of 7. As we go on to our second map, let's see what our two players are going to do.
I'm not sure exactly what his plan is.
Well, he's going to need to deal with this first. An Archon drop harass can do a lot of damage, and the Queens are absolutely necessary to try to hit the Warp Prism and slow this down. We have Banelings coming up. Now the Warp Prism very low on HP, and it will barely managed to get away. We're still waiting to see when that 5th base is going to be taken here by Rogue.
And look at this, the Muta's flying out right now as Classic has taken a more defensive stance. The Mutalisk's going into the main base. It looks like there's only a single photon cannon here. That won't hold them for long. Stalkers being warped in, but they aren't that afraid of Stalkers. Classic decides to go on a counterattack.
Yeah, Classic, instead of actually trying to defend his base where these Mutas could unpower these pylons, Classic going to try to come across the map and start smashing these expansions, but already Rogue winning the fight here in Classic's main.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. A lot of Stalkers being warped in. Those aren't units in his main army. Here we go. We see Classic microing here frantically as the Banelings roll in. He still has some Psystorms to deal with these Hydras, though, as he pushes them back.
We see a few more Banelings about to finish. The last Archon goes down. It's just Immortals and a few Templars remaining. But again, Immortals, the most robust unit in the game. He could still try to push through.
He's trying right here, but look at this. A stray Muta comes over. More Zerglings coming out, and he's in a lot of trouble. It looks like he might try to recall here. He does indeed, so tries to bring home as many units as he can, but only a couple Immortals and the Archon make it.
The Mutas have still done, or are doing now, so much damage, 23 probe kills. But I'm worried mathematically this may be an impossible comeback here for Classic.
It is a very, very difficult one, but we've seen crazy games. We'll see what Classic can pull out. But right now, he's defending the Mutas reasonably well. The second pack coming over, he cleaned up the first and should be able to clean up the second.
If Classic can't hold this off perfectly, this game could very well end.
Oh, he gets stasis right there as he rolls in. Banelings at the third base. Psystorms going down all over the place. Only a few Stalkers left over as the army gets on top.
We see more and more of Rogue's units beginning to spill in. The last Immortal goes down. Classic retreating, but decides to tap out. GG! Rogue with a 2-0 lead over Classic here in the Intel Extreme Masters Grand Finals. So the Phoenix is taking out the Overlord. I believe the Overlord does not complete a vision check here. I don't think the Overlord has actually seen this base back here.
He wants to hit the main base and the third base at the same time.
It's very subtle, but Classic actually showed the Warp Prism, I believe intentionally, to the Hydras to keep them down there, where now these Zealots coming up here from the north can try to come in here and take out these Queens and drones.
Okay, charges in, but great micro by Rogue here, pulls the Queens back. In the meantime, Archons into the main base, only 4 Hydras there. They quickly take them out.
And here comes the actual attack, a huge warping inside the main. Rogue still scrambling to try to shut down this attack at his third base. The Warp Prism low on shield, so is the Archon. He picks it up and backs out the moment he can't do any more damage.
His army is scary. As long as his Zealots don't connect into Banelings, he should be able to do some damage here.
He's coming up here from the top. I do feel like Rogue is in a pretty good position, but it's all going to come down to how these Sonic Storms are executed. Oh my god! Huge Baneling attack there, taking out so many probes, and now the main attack starts.
Oh, the Banelings roll into a lot of these Zealots, some Archons as well, but this should be held by Rogue. Still Classic pushing back those Hydras right now, but after getting rid of the High Templars, after clearing out a lot of the Zealots efficiently, this was a quality engagement for our Zerg player.
We are getting to the tipping point here. Another small and cost-efficient counterattack. It looks like Classic already prepared for that. The Lings instead move down over to this location where the cannons don't quite cover those probes.
In the meantime, he attacks into the main army here of Rogue. He's on creep, so Rogue's defense should be strong. Great Psystorms going down. The Banelings rolling into Archons and getting picked off, and now the Zealots and High Templars join the battle.
We have an impressive arc here from Rogue, but it seems like Classic is broken through, losing only 7 probes, but the main push from Classic comes forward.
The Zealots have to turn around as they get too far ahead of the rest of the army. The High Templars being harassed a bit here. He needs to cast Psystorms, and he does all over those Hydras, forced to retreat once again.
Most importantly, the gold base was shut down.
Oh, Rogue actually finds a hole in the wall in the middle of it all and gets these Zerglings in, going to that back expansion, fighting at the front as well. An instant recall from Classic. He's not taking any risks dealing with these Zerglings.
But with that recall going back, we now have an attack here from Classic, and there's really nothing to defend, an instant cancel.
But we are entering the next phase of this game. You see the air upgrades coming. There's already some Tempests out. There's Broodlords on the way right now as well.
You can see now with these Lings attacking the Cybernetics core, this air upgrade could actually be denied. The Archons come back, saving that for now. But Classic seems to be ready for an attack like this. The Banelings coming forward into the front. They will be able to detonate on these Zealots, and now a surround here on the Archon. A good warp in. This counterattack has been denied, but it's also intimidating Classic enough into trying to turn around and keep his bases safe. That means that if you move out with that big army, they can always try to counterattack into you. And with the drops available, he can always try to go into that main and force Classic to go up there and address that. Because even if it's, oh wow, great Baneling connect there and actually come in and even getting some workers. So this may trigger the actual big attack.
I think this could force a recall. If he recalls his entire army, that bottom left can be killed by Rogue. A strong move is his army gets recalled for the most part, so this is enough to clean that up. But now Rogue should be attacking somewhere else.
Okay, we have the Hydras coming down now, as well as some Vipers getting into this location, but it looks like he might just barely have enough. Broodlords, though, hitting the bottom. Classic needs to save both of these bases.
It is so important that he saves them. It looks like this one is saved for the time being. Another recall goes off before that mothership dies. He gets back a ton of units and now has to go and clean up the Broodlords as well.
Again, every time these probes are taken out, he's going to have to go back and remake some more. Lings coming in again. Any tech structures he gets too is just something to try to slow down Classic. The Spore Crawlers now within vision of this base. If the Broodlords can get on top of it and get a good engage, the ground buildings are going to be decimated in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, he's dealing some damage to it over and over and over. Classic is shooting his volleys and gaining some value here, but here comes Rogue coming in, grabbing a couple of these Tempests, abducting them into his army and killing them off in seconds.
Excellent harpooning here, taking out a good amount of that ground army. Of course, with those spores over there, they can take out all those air units. And huge play, 34 workers killed off, making our worker count 30 to 71. Rogue really starting to seize this game.
Rogue making it look easy. Classic has played fantastically, but these moves from Rogue are so difficult to fight against. He's all over the place, and if you make a mistake for a second, he is going to punish you. And you can see that really reflected in Classic's income here. He doesn't really have that much compared to Rogue. Rogue is starting to build a very big bank and can replace his units whenever he loses them. He moves out right now as he is, and he can deal some massive damage. Rogue might have to follow him. Look at this, Rogue turning around. Uh-oh, what's happening here? He's hitting one of these bases. Looks like Rogue has come back with the rest of his units, but isn't able to save that top right base.
But hey, this is a huge play. Out-positioning Rogue here. He's going to try to tear down these spore crawlers. Such a big investment here for Rogue.
It's really important that he gets rid of as many of these as possible. The Corruptors coming back with the Vipers. The Broodlords, of course, a bit slower, lagging behind. He can't fight these ground units without them. This is just such masterful play coming out of Rogue. Classic's doing everything he can to try to come back into this game, but Rogue just suffocating. Look at this, an abduct on an Archon, continuing to deal damage to this army. A blink forward from Classic. He's trying to force a fight.
Yeah, it looks like Classic's going to be going for it. Storming and coming forward now. We still have Templars zoning out a lot of these air units. If Classic can get underneath these Broodlords and take them out, the rest of the air army for the Zerg is useless.
Oh, the Void Ray's dealing a huge amount of damage, but parasitic bombs going down. They're taking so many hits. The Broodlords knocking out so many Archons, but at the end of the day, Rogue pulls back, waiting for reinforcements.
It should be noted that Rogue is switching his tech now. He's pumping out Ultralisks, and that's going to be it. Classic identifies there's no way he's going to win that game.
He is up right now 3-0 against Classic. I don't even know what else to say.
We are now entering game number 4.
So the probe comes out here to deny that hatchery. Really Classic trying to seize control of this game early on. Ling speed started. Let's also keep in mind Artosis, and I think we're about to see that right now. I was about to say, Rogue is going so all in here. He may hit this expansion so hard that there's nothing Classic can do.
But a Void Ray is so good against Roaches. I don't know how he's going to make this actually work out. The Roaches can go up and start hitting the wall, but we already see a shield battery. He sees Roaches are coming, and with that Void Ray, I mean, as soon as you turn it on, the damage is immense.
We do have that one battery coming up here. The Adept is taken out. Every unit is so important right now. We see Rogue coming up here. He sees that the Void Ray is now hitting some of these Roaches. He's going to try to bust through immediately. We see Rogue come inside, and now these Lings surrounding some of these probes. The Roaches trying to avoid the Void Ray.
Trying to deal a lot of damage. The Void Ray obviously dealing a ton from the sky. Classic microing his best here, trying to stem the flow of damage. More Zerglings coming up. It looks like this Ravager will be picked off as well.
And at the last second, more Lings spill in. 2 Void Rays scrambling to try to come up here and protect the probes in the main.
Oh, the probes being drilled right now. They're going to have to fight, I would say. Rogue making some more Ravagers. More Lings coming up as well, going right through that wall. But an Adept pops out to block the rest.
The problem right now is that he needs to get this wall in set up, because otherwise Lings will continue to stream in. Void Rays are not great against Lings. There's just too many in such a high number.
Oh, the Lings continue to flow in here. The probes fighting. 10 of them have fallen already, but still an okay worker count for Classic. Rogue has barely anything behind this.
Let's see if Rogue is ready. With these air units, it's possible for Classic to split Rogue, where Rogue can't go from his main to his expansion. And I think that's what we're seeing the beginnings of here right now.
Well, he's going to pick off that Spore that was making the Queen, taking some damage, has to walk back to the Spore. Some of these drones going to be picked off as well. You forget sometimes that Void Rays can kill off drones, but
Rogue took that risk and did that rush really early on.
Well, here he comes in, going after the Spore. The 2 Oracles coming in, getting targeted down. Great targeting by Rogue, but these Void Rays might not be stopped, taking out all of this anti-air.
That last Spore goes down. Now it's just the Queen, and it looks like Rogue may end up losing his main. Without his main, there's really no way to get back into this game. We see the Queens, without Creep connected, trying to get back to save anything that's left over here, and it looks like Rogue barely manages to do that.
Ooh, the Void Ray barely getting away. Just 9 health left right there.
We have a second second Stargate that was made, so it's now 2 Oracles at a time. A Robo coming in. Classic's tech is looking immaculate.
Yeah, and really Rogue doesn't have that much. Look at this, coming in, targeting down the Queen with the most energy. It gets transfused a couple times, but gets picked off. He's trying to kill as many flying units as he can, and to be honest, doing an okay job. 2 Oracles and a Void Ray fall. Rogue is just trying to defend everything with Queens, and if he can pull that off, that's pretty nice. It'll really kind of transition well into that later part of the game. But here he goes, the Queen's coming out. He pulls back to the Spore as the air units dive on top of him. Not enough energy for transfuses, so he's really having to utilize his Spore to its fullest.
Here we go. The Oracles are coming in. A lot of Queens here to defend, and in fact, Rogue seems to have enough. Instead, Classic goes down now into the main to see if there's an opening here. Pushed out from there. The Oracles looking for an opening here. They may be needed, more importantly, to try to defend in this attack that could come here from Rogue. We see it headed northbound right now.
Now look at those Queens. They walked as far as they could on the creep, now getting off it. They're gonna walk up this hill very slowly, but quite surely as well. Roaches and Ravagers coming along, and the ground army of Classic is actually very small.
The Oracles have spotted the Queens now pushing up. We have Ravagers getting into position here, and it looks like it's actually going to be an attack on the entrance of the second base, where all the critical tech for Classic is.
Okay, Classic has to deal with this perfectly, and he can win this game. Some Biles going out, getting rid of the force fields as they come down. Very patiently throwing down force fields, trying to deal with these Lings. A lot of damage coming out from Rogue, though.
We see Rogue scrambling to try to push forward. The Oracles have been activated. The Protoss army is beginning to thin out as more Ravagers are being made.
Oh my God, Rogue! This could be a huge comeback. So many units. The Queen's dealing huge amounts of damage. The Oracles all cleaned up. A few Immortals left, juggling with the Prism Air. Classic tries to hold.
Absolutely insane. He's actually managed to breach into the second base. There's only 3 Immortals and an Archon remaining against so many of Rogue's units.
He's trying so hard here. You see Classic. He is breaking a sweat at this point. More Zealots coming in. The Queens, they're getting low on energy. Can Classic clean up this attack?
I don't think he can. The Immortals are getting lower, and it looks like that's it. GG! Unbelievable Rogue with a 4-0 victory over Classic. Give it up for your Intel Extreme Masters World Champion!